Happy Monday from South Florida. Well, Brandon's in Central Florida, so we get a mix. Just Florida in general. Plug Talk Sports. We're back. I'm back. Happy Monday. I know we got a little game going on at the moment in the third quarter. But it's a brand new week. Means brand new episode. Welcome back. Danny Torres, Jonathan Don't Stop. I am Brandon Hernandez. Let's get straight to it. Let's go with what'd you guys do last week? You guys did bad news first?
We sure did.
Yep. All right. Good news. Okay, let's go with good news. Brandon, you want to start us off with some good news?
Yeah. What I would say, good news. I was able to get a little bit of a vacation week, so I was down in South Florida, but I was very busy. Like I went down to Key West.
Oh wow!
Which is like you know what I mean, to see family. So it was just great to have myself a little bit off of the writing table and all that, but definitely a busy week seeing family.
Jonka?
Besides me making myself a fire iced coffee right now,
at 9 o'clock at night,
bro, I'm a coffee guy.
Yeah, bro, that's.
I'm gonna say I guess it's multiple things. UM's new transfer center from UCF has been rated the highest center in in college football. So, and then this is just right now. This is coming out just right now. Vanderbilt transfer, Jadis Richard goes to Miami. Nebraska transfer, AJ Allen to Miami. What else? Vanderbilt transfer, Jadis Richard transfers to Miami. What else? And then 5-star guard from FSU. The Seminole transfer.
It's like the craziest
basketball.
thing.
So that's a good thing after UM loses Isaiah Wong and Jordan Miller. So that's a good thing. And I guess what else? Shout out to the Panthers.
We're
gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. Good news for me. Real Madrid this weekend takes the Copa del Rey in the final 2-1 over Osasuna. I got to give my respect to Osasuna. They gave them a good fight. The goal that they scored was pretty good. I have to give it to them. It was pretty nasty. But yeah, we picked up another title. So far this year, we've got Copa del Rey, UEFA Super Cup, and FIFA Club World Cup. And of course, the big one looms, UEFA Champions League, which they're in the semifinals tomorrow. The first leg of the semifinal against Manchester City. We all know how that panned out last year. Crazy game for Madrid against Man City. Should be a good one. On the other side is Inter Milan and AC Milan. So it's going to be interesting. Can Real Madrid go back-to-back Champions League titles with this squad? We'll see. Everyone's counting out Madrid against Man City, but so they did the same thing last year, and look what happened. It's Madrid in the Champions League. You can never count them out. But yeah, I'm happy about it. Copa del Rey title. Haven't won that since 2014. Add that to the trophy cabinet. 20th Copa del Rey title for Madrid. Let's go. Bad news, Brandon. What's the bad news?
Probably gonna go into it later on, but definitely the Celtics for some reason losing 2 games by buzzer beater. This series should be. Again, I'm gonna go into it, but this series should be at least 3-1. But we'll definitely go into that later on. But Celtics just not getting the job done.
Jonka, we're gonna save that discussion for a little later, Brandon.
Worst thing I saw. I guess it's gonna have to be that the officiating for games 1 and 3 for the Lakers-Warriors series. Absolutely atrocious. So we're going to get into that later, too. But you're going to hear a bit from me. I got to tell you that much. Hey, dude.
Worst thing for me had to be a conversation last night, a 3-way conversation between me, Jonka, and his brother. Let me tell you, this guy, not Jonka, his brother, has the most... I'm telling you, man. I'm trying to pick the nice words to say it.
Brandon, I'm telling you, if you were there, you'd like, I don't know.
Brandon, you would have an aneurysm.
No, yeah. But just the context, though. I mean, what is the conversation we're talking
First of all, we got into basketball conversation. We got into football conversation. This guy said, I know you're a Dolphins fan, but I know you're realistic, Brandon. I know you're I know you're cognitive. I know your motor functions up here are working. And if you tell me this, if I'm about to tell you this right now and you tell me you agree with him,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I'm going to lose my stuff. He said that Tua Tagovailoa is better than Jalen Hurts.
No disrespect to Tua. There's a reason why he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. But there's also a reason why Jalen Hurts is like $200 million on his contract, been to a Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better, Brandon. It gets better.
Tell me.
This man said, and Jonka is my witness, he said Tua Tagovailoa is better than Aaron Rodgers.
I got no words for that.
He said better than Dak Prescott, better than Justin Herbert.
So he said Tua is like a top 10 quarterback. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he did say better than Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, he did. He did. That's right. He did.
Look, there is a lot of delusional Dolphin fans. As a Dolphin fan, I can't say that. But let's be real, just a little realistic. This Tua is not going to be the same 2017 comeback from the championship Tua Tagovailoa. I think a lot of, like the Dolphin fans, after seeing that game, they really said, this is our guy. I think they're still on that. But we can do a whole half an hour about Tua talk, but that is crazy.
Hold on. Look, you can tell me, Brandon, if I'm being biased or not, but because the Dolphins are playing the Cowboys this year. He went on to tell me that the Dallas defense is not elite.
I'm gonna leave it as that. I'm gonna just leave it as that statement. I'm not gonna go further than what he said.
Okay, look, even if you don't think it's elite, you can't tell me they're not good.
No, they're a good defense for the NFC.
You can't.
As I mentioned before, I'm not going to go any further on that.
Hey, listen to me. You can't tell me as Tua back there in the pocket, you're not going to be scared as hell. Micah Parsons breathing down your throat.
Hey, I mean, every single person should be scared about Micah Parsons. Even Cowboys fan after he was being shown with the 76ers jersey. So there's a lot of people right now questioning Micah. Just saying.
Hey, man. Let the guy be. Maybe he's a Sixer. He did go to school in Pennsylvania.
This is true. Yeah, that is true. So you never know. Maybe he picked up a liking to the Sixers.
You know, maybe if it doesn't work out in Dallas, he goes to the Eagles.
All right, let's start the show off. NBA talk. Want to give you guys an update right now. Bam Adebayo, 20 points. Miami leads in the third quarter with 4 minutes remaining in that quarter. 77-71. It is a close game, but New York has not led once in this ball game at all. Listen, my prediction, and this was my prediction on Twitter after the last game, my prediction was that New York was not going to win another game in this series. I'm going to stay with it, and if Miami holds on to this victory, I don't think Knicks get another win in this series, and the Heat get that gentleman sweep the same way they did against the Milwaukee Bucks. That's just my opinion. I think the Heat have had a good game plan where the Knicks like to attack the basket, and the Heat have been defending that well, forcing the Knicks to shoot, and the Knicks have been shooting absolutely atrocious in this series, especially beyond the arc. I mean, they showed the chart of their shots, and it was just like red X's all over the place.
Yeah.
And please don't even get me started. This is why I don't even watch ESPN for coverage anymore in terms of basketball. Jalen Rose said that the reason the Knicks are shooting poorly is because of the weather in Miami. You're playing a basketball game indoors.
Maybe the humidity got in. Who knows?
Yeah, the Heat fans are putting humidifiers up at the top of the Kaseya Center so that the Knicks can feel it.
No, yeah, it's almost like TD Guard in the 80s with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar needing basically an air mask, gas mask. But definitely for the New York Knicks series against the Miami Heat, the one thing that I find really curious about this series is that Julius Randle, and again, Randle's the type of player where it's not going for him. He's going to keep on forcing himself to get shots up. That unfortunately does hurt the team.
Yep.
So seeing Julius Randle, the game he comes back for game 2, they end up winning that game. And again without Butler, they barely won that game. That went down to the wire. I think it was like they won by at least 2 possessions in that one.
Yeah. Yep.
And Jalen Brunson kind of had to, air it out himself with a bunch of threes. You look at game 3. Game 3 was a Miami Heat masterclass. Kevin Love, and actually this is pretty funny because I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast earlier. Imagine Kevin Love never went to the Cavs. Like, we could have had like an entire career of Kevin Love, maybe on the Timberwolves, whatever. But Kevin Love outlet passes. Actually, he's a good, they just had him in the corner his entire career the past few years. Kevin Love has been the huge piece of this Miami Heat team. I think kind of the decisive piece of this Miami Heat team. He hasn't been giving you some sort of offensive points where he's really consistent, giving you 15 a game, 20 a game, but he's involved in this offense. In Miami, Bam Adebayo, I mean, as you mentioned before, Daniel, 20 points in this game so far. He's been heating up a little bit. He's been heating up, and Jimmy Butler, he's not going to give you, throughout this series, as we know, it hasn't really been Jimmy Butler's show. It's been more or less the Miami Heat, quick offense, Caleb Martin getting action going through. It's actually Kyle Lowry, off the bench, has been really, not saying the best piece off the bench, but it does allow Gabe Vincent to kind of do his own thing and get the ball in his hands. And I think Gabe Vincent has been just buzzing around the court. For this series, a lot of people talk about New York being dead in the water. I think this game 4 is very decisive. If you're down 3-1, you're not coming back against Miami. Even if the series goes back to New York for a game 7 or what have you, you're not coming back against Miami. This Miami team is too aggressive. And, of course, the Knicks defense, it's one of the best defenses out there in the playoffs, in my honest opinion. They're holding teams below, I want to say, around 110 points, 100 and just about 105 points, which, again, in today's NBA standards is pretty impressive. But their offense is terrible. I mean, they got Obi Toppin shooting threes.
Yeah.
Wide open. RJ Barrett. The Heat are allowing these shots, and New York unable to take advantage of it. So it's just hard for me to say. I think it's more or less the Knicks offense. There's no way they can compete. No way they can compete.
Jonka?
I have to agree. The Heat are most likely going to win this game, take a 3-1 lead, and then that probably close out in New York. Hopefully, if New York can pull out a win today, then most likely it's going to be the Heat closing it out in Miami, which would be a nicer end to the story. But overall, yeah, the Knicks don't have how do you say that second star? Jalen Brunson, he's the superstar of the team, but RJ Barrett, he's not there yet. Obi Toppin, not there yet. Julius Randle is a shell of himself. You don't know what he is. He's barely a younger version of Anthony Davis, a flip-flop. You have a good game, bad game, average game. You don't know what it's a box of chocolates. Yeah, either Heat in 5 or Heat in 6, no matter what. I don't see the New York Knicks doing anything. They'd have to go on a legendary shooting spree to even be considered to win this series. It was no way.
And let me tell you, what's made it hard is that Miami's been shooting the ball really well.
Yeah.
And people like Stephen A say, oh, this is a little streak. It's just going to end. No, they've been shooting the ball well ever since that Milwaukee series. Except for that where this came from, but.
Except for that one game.
Okay, yeah, the one game. But still, they've been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And all these players that I was criticizing during the regular season, they all have taken advantage of their role and have stepped up big time. All down the board, every single one of them.
Yeah.
So,
even Cody Zeller is getting good minutes.
I know.
How did this guy not get picked up after 60 games?
He played well last game. He played pretty good.
Yeah. But what I would say, again, because I know I said, New York's dead in the water. I think a lot of people are saying New York's dead in the water. The only thing I would say, and again, this is kind of the reason why New York's been able to make it out of the first round through 5 games against the Cavaliers, besides, of course, the Cavs wanting to play 4 guys for almost 40 to 50 minutes. RJ Barrett, he's definitely been a piece of this team where if he gets 20 points to 25 points, the Knicks are finding themselves in a lead throughout the entire game. I haven't seen any bit of RJ Barrett in this series where I'm comfortable saying, he can help out when Julius is cold. Let alone, Jalen Brunson, game 3, they kind of made a wall around him. and kind of stopped him right in his tracks. RJ Barrett needed to step up. In this game I'm seeing right now is, we're doing this live during game 4, 82-76. My apologies, 82-78 with Josh Hart making a basket. And again, Josh Hart, he's getting on my nerves a little bit. I feel like he's kind of trying, again, I don't know, might be trying to injure guys, not too positive. But, this Knicks team, Manuel Quickly, not playing today due to the ankle, hasn't really showed up at all, was a 6-man finalist. They don't have a lot of pieces besides RJ Barrett to really pick him up.
So we can all agree, Heat taking this serious.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the very, very important one that's coming right after this game at 10 p.m. Warriors and Lakers. I'll tell you right now, if Lakers win tonight, I don't know. I don't know. I give it 50-50 if the Lakers win tonight. Because at least for the last game, I know the officiating was a big factor, but the Warriors couldn't hit a damn shot at all.
This series, it's again, the weird thing about this series, and one of the coolest things about the NBA this season, a 6 and 7 seed team in the West. In the second round, we get LeBron against Stephen Curry. How weird is that?
Yeah.
But the weirdest part about the series has been 3 things. Rui Hachimura has been on fire off the bench. However, has been the only good piece of the Lakers bench throughout this entire series. 2, we talk about 2 games out of 3 where we have blowouts, back and forth blowouts. The only close game was game 1 where Anthony Davis went out for 30 points and honestly will probably be the deciding factor. And then the third, I think the most crucial thing about this series is what's the aftermath afterwards, right? Let's say the Lakers do end up winning this series. How do they match up against a Denver or Phoenix Suns? And again, I know we're kind of jumping in another perspective, but how do they match up? If I'm the Lakers, I'd rather want to play a team like Denver. If I'm the Warriors, I'd rather play a team like Phoenix. Then again, I would not want to see Devin Booker, who's, in my honest opinion, the best player in these playoffs. But from what I know of, this is a series I can't put a finger on it. I think this game 4, it kind of, again, by game 4, everyone should know what they're doing. But LeBron James showing up in the mid-afternoon, 7 hours prior of tip-off, maybe has a good game, but I think Anthony Davis will definitely be needed to win this one.
Yeah, I can't, before Jonathan goes, I can't. Anthony Davis is going to have to be consistent. If he's not consistent, I can't see the Lakers winning this series.
Okay, here we go. You got to stretch for this one. Listen. This series should be 3-0 Warriors. Game 1 was, I'm not gonna excuse the language, but I'm not gonna say it. Bologna sandwiches. The Lakers win by 5, but with an astronomical BS free throw attempts, obviously changed the entire game. Game 2. The Warriors shoot better. The officiating calls and the free throw attempts were basically equal. The Warriors build them out. Luckily, game 3 comes. The officiating was basically equal until like the half of the second quarter. The Warriors are up 13. The Lakers call timeout, and remember, LeBron hadn't even taken his first shot until the 4 minutes into the second quarter. So he hadn't done anything till then. And all of a sudden, after that moment, 38-6 for free throws. Make that make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But I think the weird thing about, again, I think during playoff time, I think that's when real people start realizing the officiating in the NBA. I think Scott Foster's doing this game. this guy's doing this game.
Huh.
I think a lot of guys are under a telescope. And from this series, and then you go on to a series I know we're going to go to it later on, but the Celtics 76ers series, the officiating so far in this playoffs, better than last season, I would say, but it's been questionable in this series, let alone, as John mentioned, with the Warriors and Lakers. It's weird.
Scott Foster is officiating the game tonight between the Warriors and the Lakers.
Yeah.
So Jonka, you can expect more officiating to talk about. I'm for sure coming out of this game.
No, especially with the extender officiating the crew tonight, it's probably gonna be a 2-2 series. Again, just saying that's the name on NBA Twitter right now for Scott Foster. The
This is going to
extender.
be the story for the conference finals, for the Western Conference Finals. This is the story. Do you think the NBA would want to see LeBron and AD versus Devin Booker and KD? Or would you want to see KD and Devin Booker versus Clay, Steph, Draymond? It's basically a Warriors Suns, or LeBron versus Suns, or LeBron versus Nuggets. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Who do you want? Do you want to rather see the KD Steph drama matchup, or do you want to see the Nuggets and AD and Jokic and AD matchup? That's the only story they can possibly come up with. Who do you want to see? What ratings are going to be given more?
Right. If you ask me, I think that the storyline for the NBA, and again, the NBA is not rigged. Just want to let the people know.
I'm starting to question it.
Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon's behind the whole thing.
Let me give you the stat.
Oh my.
The Lakers have taken 216 free throws for this so far in these 2 rounds combined. The Warriors and the Grizzlies combined, only 160. Make that make sense?
I don't know what to tell you. They just
216 to 160, and yet there's no problem with the officiating. The Lakers are being carried to wins because of the free throw attempts. They're giving fouls to the starters. The starters have to sit down because they're gonna get foul trouble. They can't play later in the game. They can't make runs, and so you see these blowouts. It's the only reason LeBron is being able to play like dog crap, and AD continue to play mediocre every other game, is because they're being carried by the refs. There's no other reason, bro. The mathematics spit it in the face. If you deny it, you're an idiot. You're delusional.
Well, math or not, what I think what the NBA would probably prefer is that there is a situation where the Warriors do find themselves against Kevin Durant. I think that's what the NBA wants to see, a rivalry. But again, what I'm thinking, I already said this in our predictions before these NBA playoffs started, I really do believe in Denver. I think, honestly, Jokic, I know we're going to talk about this series later on, best player, deserved the MVP. I think in these playoffs, I mean, regular season MVP, whatever. But I think the NBA is going to be disappointed if that's the case, if they're trying to do with the officiating. That's what I think. I don't think that, again, maybe the Lakers do get through. I kind of doubt it. But I don't think again, I mean, conspiracies out there. I don't think officiating is going to be the huge part about that. They're not going to stop Denver.
Listen, this is what I thought was funny. I think it was Chuck tonight said they showed LeBron at like 2:00 in the afternoon was already at the arena putting up shots. And they're like, man, why is he putting up shots? It should be AD that's out there putting up shots. Plus, LeBron's not gonna shoot the ball for the entire first quarter. So why be out there?
It doesn't add up, bro. I'm telling you, it doesn't add up. Half of AD's points from Game 3 were free throws.
Hey, so final question: if this series goes 2-2, what do you guys think happens?
What I think probably does happen.
Warriors win Game 5 and finish at Game 6.
I think probably Warriors take Game 5. Game 6 comes around. Austin Reeves shows up out of nowhere. He goes to Game 7. I think the Warriors take it in 7.
There's always that one. I have to agree with you, Brandon, because there's always that one guy. Last year's Eastern Conference Finals, where the hell did Peyton Pritchard come from? I was like, who is this guy?
Hey, Peyton Pritchard. Hey, best origin guard out there.
Like that. Don't you do my guy like that.
Don't do Peyton like that. He's getting his minutes sooner than later, hopefully. But trust me, though, I think that this series itself, and again, as mentioned before, Scott Foster, a.k.a. the extender officiating, NBA is not rigged. I'm not saying that. But if it goes 2-2, it's a 3-game series by then. And I think both teams have each other figured out. The Warriors' offense is just too much for the Lakers, though. That's what I'm thinking. Anthony Davis needs to drop 30 for the next 3 games. If not, I mean, the Lakers are going to find themselves down 15 by the second half of a couple of games in the future.
I have to agree with you, Brandon. If this goes 2-2 tonight, I think this is going to Game 7.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna say this. All jokes aside, it took the Lakers to blow out the Warriors because the Warriors shot terribly, and the referees had to call an excessive amount of free throw attempts, right? But we saw Game 2 when the Warriors were hitting, and the free throw attempts were lowered to basically even. The Warriors blew them out. Now, are the Warriors going to shoot like that again? Maybe one of these next 3 games if they tie it tonight. But let's be honest, still Steph hasn't really been that aggressive these first 3 games. The first game he was okay. The second game he was just assisting. I think he had finished with 12 or 13. He's not being that aggressive he was in the Kings series. We haven't seen that Steph game come out yet. He has that in the bag. He's like, all right, let me see how long it's gonna take them to piss me off, and then I'll start to chuck him up because he got a little bit hot in Game 3.
He did.
Too late.
All right. So moving on to the next series, we'll go Phoenix and Denver. I know Brian wants to talk about Boston, but I'm keeping it last for him.
Well, I love that game.
Phoenix and Denver. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like Phoenix has been playing a whole lot better without Chris Paul. They play much slower at a much slower pace when Chris Paul's in the game. And I just think, and Devin Booker's playing phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to believe in the Nuggets. But I feel like it's going to be, historical Denver. They have a great regular season. And then they let everyone down. And I think Phoenix, I still got my pick on Phoenix. I think Phoenix goes in the next round.
Yeah, I'm not too, again, because I understand the idea that the last 2 games, obviously going to Phoenix, they showed reasons why offensively, why they're a powerhouse, Devin Booker. In my honest opinion, there's like a top 3 list, top 5 list of guys in these playoffs. I got Devin Booker at number 1 out of the 5 guys we've seen in these playoffs. Outstanding ball. Gives
Who's at 2?
Pieces like nothing. You said what?
Who's at 2?
Who's at 2? Jimmy Butler.
Okay, thank you.
Can't really argue with that. Guy gives you like 26 points and it feels like an off night. But besides that, whenever I watch Phoenix, and Devin Booker's been phenomenal, but now they're switching up the defense for Denver where you have to go, off ball and keep a track on Booker, or you also have Kevin Durant wide open. When it gets to a situation where KD is open for the wing or whatever, the elbow, it's not a good scenario you want to find yourself on the road in Phoenix. But Denver at the same time, this was a poor shooting night from Denver. If I can just find the stats right now, I'm looking at it. Jamal Murray, of course, had to put up 40 minutes in this one. 52% from the floor. Jokic, a double-double with assists, not rebounds, assists, 11 assists and 53 points. Insane number, his playoff career high himself. But then you look at the bench. What's the bench giving you? Bruce Brown, UM grad, 5 points. Jeff Green, still in the NBA somehow, 5 points. It makes no sense. Jokic, and the crazy thing about it, at his size, you're not expecting him to take down the ball. And it's just in general, you're not expecting a guy at his height, his width, his weight to really be athletic enough or even stable enough condition-wise to even stick around for 40 minutes. Yeah. He's able to do this and more to keep this game alive. If the Denver bench even showed up in Game 4, that probably would have been a Nuggets win. Now, that's the only thing I have about this. It's about depth. Shamet had a phenomenal game for Phoenix for the first time, I think, in this entire playoffs, if I can really put a finger on it. And it's just the crowd. Like, I forgot the owner's name for the Suns, but the whole thing about the owner holding on to the ball, and I was looking at the film afterwards, like, the guy flopped.
It was
what I mean? Like, I'm glad Jokic didn't get fined. Oh, he got fined $25,000, but he didn't get suspended, though. That was what I was pretty happy about. But I just think that it was just Jokic one-man show with Jamal Murray, keeping up the pace. I expected more out of Aaron Gordon, who finished, 11 or so points.
Yep.
I just think that from what Phoenix we saw from them, and of course Devin Booker having a phenomenal series, a career-defining series, where even if they lose it, I still feel like that Devin Booker put enough where I can still respect them at the end of the day. I mean, it's just about Denver's bench. What can they do in Game 5 to regroup?
And they have a better bench than Phoenix, so.
Yeah, it just depends exactly. And also a weird thing, like Torrey Craig for Phoenix hasn't even showed up in this series a lot. I think he didn't play any minutes last game, I don't believe. Like, he's been a huge piece of them during the regular season. So you're finding a lot of random guys in the series that are just popping out of nowhere on the Phoenix Suns, like Shaman, as I mentioned before.
Yeah. I will say before Jonka goes, what I thought was funny was Devin Booker was mic'd up and KD just hit a 3. And he's like, damn, y'all left KD open. Jonka, your take?
I saw the ending, the last quarter of that game, and the game was close for both teams. But Denver, I don't know what they did. Landry Shamet just hit 3 for 3 from 3, and then KD hit his shots, easy twos, a pull-up 3, wide open. I'm like, bro, you guys played defense the entire game, but you can't play defense the last 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Bro, like, out of all people, Shamet is the one that's going to make you lose this game. And yet Jokic was doing everything in his his power to make this game close. He was hitting these crazy, N1s, and it was putting him in. I'm like, bro, this guy's giving his team life. Man, if the Suns come back from 2-0, I mean, they did technically they tied it, but I think either Jokic should consider leaving. Yeah,
I mean, look, what I would say for that piece, because I mean, there's also, I think the crazy thing about it is that not only, I don't even think that's the biggest rumor right now. I think there's more rumors about Giannis Antetokounmpo after his last 2 years of his contract going to New York, and also I heard a weird scenario where there's a trade option to possibly Orlando would have the best potential. And yes, I know. But then again, there is people on the ESPN trade app that are doing stuff that have just been wild that I've been seeing on Twitter. But for Jokic to leave, I mean, I'm not too positive exactly on the numbers of his contract, but to leave in the next year or two would just be a mistake for Jokic and Denver as well. They got pieces. They've been number 1 seed for, a number of years now in the NBA. And of course, when you look at the roster with Jamal Murray and Jokic and their chemistry together throughout this time, they're really missing a wing. They're missing more or less more depth on the bench where you can help out Jokic, who can, instead of playing 30 to 35 minutes a game, you get him getting at least 25 to 30, and you have a little bit of rest because DeAndre Jordan's just sitting on the bench doing nothing for the team.
Yeah, I think they're missing a shooter. Like Aaron Gordon, he's good defensively, but as an overall shooter, he's not that guy. Maybe they can try to get Chris Middleton. That would be a good addition.
That'd be huge.
That would be a nice one.
Forward. And also, because I know we're going to talk about this, I want to say one thing. Shamet, and this is true. The last 5 years, every single team that started the year off with Shamet ended up losing in Game 7 in the second round. Looked it up. I figured the numbers out. So for those who are more conspiracy in there, look at Shamet. He's cursed.
Well, it's that time of the night. It's Brandon's part. Celtics 76ers series is tied. Oh, Brandon. For as me and John as Heat fans, we'll gladly take Philadelphia. We'll gladly take Philly. But what's going on there, man? Inform us. What's going on with Boston and Philadelphia?
Yeah. So for that series itself, when we look at it, as I mentioned before, going into this series, James Harden is not the same James Harden. We talked about 2017 James Harden, MVP season, one of the best offensive players we've ever seen. I was not expecting to get 30-plus points. For some reason, he ended up listening to this podcast and said, hey, Brandon said I wasn't attacking the basket that much in the Brooklyn Nets series. I think I'm going to go attack the basket. So now James Harden is using his one-step kind of fade away right there inside the paint. He's being more aggressive on the switches because what they do is have Joel Embiid or maybe Reed going out there around the wings, set the screen. And the Celtics, for some reason, with either Al Horford, Grant Williams, or Robert Williams, go under the screen and wait for Harden to go in or basically do a step back three as he does. So Harden, and again, Philadelphia winning off of last second shots and funny enough off the left hand of James Harden, who has 2 40-point games in this series, both of them being the wins, of course. It's just, and again, like Harden, he's been having a phenomenal series, but it's like the most inconsistent thing I've ever seen out of a player, especially at his caliber. You're trying to tell me throughout games 2 and 3, he gets 25, 28 points, only makes about 5 shots from the floor. And then you have this game in Philadelphia where you can't really miss a basket. It makes no sense. But from this series, the big takeaways I would say for the Celtics, I think I'll start off by saying not from the series, but from game 4. The first half shooting was terrible. God awful.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum had open shots. He didn't make a single basket until I think his 9th or 10th attempt. Jaylen Brown was really phenomenal until he got into foul trouble off some things against Joel Embiid. He grabs a rebound on top of someone's head, and that's enough to call foul. But again, Celtics, 38% from the floor in the first half. The second half comes in. Al Horford in the fourth. Al Horford's defense in the fourth quarter, the best defense I've seen from a big man against an MVP in a long time. He played phenomenal. Celtics made the comeback. The only thing, and again, I'm going to go into my takes for both teams. But the last thing I would say about game 4, the last 2 minutes of regulation and the last minute of overtime. Now, I'm not too positive what Joe Mazzulla does with his offense. He just told the media today that maybe I should have taken a timeout, maybe I should not. But maybe you should look at Jaylen Brown in some situations. From what I've seen in the last 2 minutes of regulation as well as of overtime, you got Jason Tatum, who's on an off night, and Marcus Smart taking the last shots. And again, Marcus, I love Marcus, 3-time Hustle Player Award winner. But at the same time, I want my 2 best players, at least the way that Joe does his offense, when you got one guy off the screen, maybe he's swinging over to the weak side. I don't want Marcus Smart taking the shots like that. He had an open one he missed to potentially win the game in the fourth quarter, and then the one he actually makes, the buzzer already sounded in overtime, which would have been a game winner to send the Celtics up 3-1 to game 5. And then the last thing I'll probably say, if I'm either a Celtics or a Sixer fan, I'm not confident in my team. I leave more questions about who really can win a championship out of this series. I don't feel confident about either side.
I'm not going to lie to you. You can disagree with me. I know you're a Celtics fan, but I feel like Jason Tatum has been, he's been iffy. I feel like Jaylen Brown's been your guy.
I wouldn't say all that. Tatum himself, he has a couple of 20 points, 30-point games, and JB, he's been good. But at the same time, when I look at, for example, game 3, we went to Tatum, who had just about every single clutch basket you can ask for. Tatum, of course, in game 2 did not show up, but JB and the rest of the Boston Celtics, Malcolm Brogdon, and just the depth of them. I think Derek White's been kind of lacking himself in this series. But Jaylen Brown, for the most part, he does show up. The only issue is, though, he's not being given enough attempts or opportunities to really show up in the clutch like Jason Tatum has for our team. So would I say that he's better than Tatum in this series? Probably not. But at the same time, would I say that, Jaylen Brown deserves the ball a little bit more than what Jason Tatum's getting right now? I would say that.
Okay. I respect that. I still think Celtics take this serious. But if Harden and Embiid, which is a lot to ask.
If Harden gets another 40 piece, because that's the only way they've been able to win by buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Which is insane. I don't know. It's really like, again, as I mentioned before, I just don't feel confident about either of these teams after this series because the Celtics, they show inconsistency and they're not able to finish off these games. And then with the 76ers, it's like you got a superstar in Harden where he's either 2017 or he's 2022. It makes no sense. And of course, Embiid, he's getting his own. Like, I think Embiid, phenomenal mid-range game. I think he was getting Grant Williams and Al Horford the works until the fourth quarter. But I don't feel confident about any of these teams right now. And even if they made it to the finals, how confident do you feel about them against any of these teams in the West? I just don't.
Look, again, the only way I see Philadelphia, I still have Celtics. The only way I see Philadelphia taking out Boston is, again, if Embiid or Harden has a crazy game like that, which is a lot to ask for every single game. Other than that, I still have Boston winning. Jonka?
I'm gonna talk about both teams, but I'm gonna start with Boston. I think Boston. Like you said, like I think you're missing that third guy just like to give that extra push. Yeah, you have Brogdon, but I haven't seen him, take that leap. That I don't know. I feel like this team is missing like a leadership kind of role. I mean, yeah, you could say Al Horford because he's a veteran, but I don't see him as the like a captain, a person like to lead the team, like a Draymond or something like that, to like rally the team up and let's go through this, let's get it. Now, you said Derek White isn't providing much as you thought he would be.
Yeah.
I said a couple weeks ago to try out Payne Pritchard over for Derek White. Give the guy a chance.
I would love to see that. Again, like John, I really do believe in Payne Pritchard. I think I've been the number one Payne Pritchard fan since we drafted.
I don't know, bro.
But again, Derek White defensively, I think he's a huge piece of the reason why we're in this situation right now in the second round with a really great shot at winning a championship. But offensively, and again, the Celtics did this, and they did this when they had the big lead against Milwaukee in round 2 last year. But they did this with Payne Pritchard, and he shines. I think he really does shine in the postseason, and especially what we saw in the last bit of Game 2. So Payne Pritchard, it can't hurt in Game 5. I don't think so.
And then for Philly, I kind of disagree that both of them have to go for 40 plus or 35 plus. I think just one of them has to go have a great game, and then one of them just has to support him. You don't have to drop like 30, but at least give him like a nice 20 bomb with some rebounds and some assists, and then maybe one extra person do a little bit extra here and there. Everybody just has to do their part. But Embiid hasn't even have that big game yet. He's gonna have a big game.
Yeah, I mean,
once he has that big game, James Harden is gonna have to support him. Okay, this guy he's on today. Let me try to help him. Let me get some threes in. Let me get some rebounds for him. Let me give him some extra possessions. Let him cook, and then see how Boston. Then let's see how Boston responds with that. And if they can't take him, then that should give you some motivation. It's like, okay, Boston doesn't seem to have an answer for Embiid. Let's keep feeding Embiid. And then once they start double teaming Embiid, that opens the floor for Harden, and then Tyrese Maxey and everybody else, and Tobias Harris. Don't sleep on Philly now, bro. Like they're low key stacked.
No, they have a solid starting lineup. It's just the only questions I have, and it's weird because I think Nang has been really phenomenal for them, and where the pieces have been, especially in Game 1 and 4. But I mean, as I mentioned before with Embiid, I mean, he had like 34, 36 points last game, and he's been phenomenal offensively in the first half. I'm just really curious, though. I mean, does James Harden continue having these 40-point games? And again, winning by buzzer beater is not the best thing.
I don't think you'll have another 40-point game, but I think you'll have, for the rest of the series, you'll have a couple good games, like good average games. But what I want to see from Boston, though, not just technically Boston, but let Jaylen Brown, what he's doing right now, he's doing fine. I need to see Jason Tatum take that next step. I think Daniel would agree, take that next step, because I feel like he's getting a lot of praise.
Yep.
But he's at star level. He's not superstar level. He needs to take that super next level. He needs to be like, okay, give me the rock, and let me take you to where we're supposed to be, conference finals. And I want to be the reason to get you there. I need to see that. I need to see that aggression to the layup line, to the free throw line, to the 3-point line. I want to see a dominant performance every night for you to be considered a superstar and to make that money that you want to make. I need to see it. This series is going 7. I'll tell you that much.
No, yeah. Honestly,
I think it goes 7, yeah.
Honestly, I thought this series would be very simple. It should have been 3-1, in my honest opinion, if it's not for those buzzer beaters. But this has been a really aggressive, offensive 76er team. It's going to be hard.
Well, let's get into some NHL talk. Oh, man.
Yep.
I think all of South Florida right now is on cloud 9. Toronto said they wanted Florida. They got Florida. They got Florida all right. And they're down 3-0 in the series. I mean, yesterday's game went to overtime. Reinhart with the goal to give Panthers that 3-0 serious lead. I don't know what's in the water in South Florida right now, but we have the Heat potentially going to the conference finals. We've got definitely it's almost there, but potentially Florida Panthers going to the conference finals. It's good to be a South Florida fan right now. It's exciting, but the Panthers, man, they don't quit. They don't quit. They keep going, and they find that goal.
I told you, Daniel. I told you. You gotta believe.
Panthers are back, man. I'm telling you. I mean, the boys are just buzzing on the ice, though. Like Reinhardt, and I know a lot of people talk about Reinhardt's contract being super overpaid, but I mean, he looked like that $1 million contract right there on the ice, though. That last goal in overtime, and he also got things such as, was that Heat game reference?
Bro, you're gonna see it now. That you're gonna see it.
Caleb Martin's dunk.
Yeah,
I already saw it.
Oh my god.
Hold on, let Brandon keep going. We talk about Panthers. Let Brandon keep going.
Hey, but if Caleb Martin's catching buys, we got to do a quick momentarily pause. But yeah, I mean, the Panthers been phenomenal, though. I mean, Bobrovsky, he's just been only allowing, 2 goals per game against his Leafs squad?
Yeah.
And Matthews in Toronto, like, this is their first time in the second round in a long time. Like, they haven't won a second-round game since 2004. So this is a Toronto team that has not been in this situation for years. And again, as I mentioned before, I love what they did with Florida, now allowing Canadian addresses to purchase tickets in FLA Live Arena. The 8-6 fans, they showed up and more. Florida is back. I think, honestly, when you look at the East, I mean, right now, I think, Carolina's up 2-1 in the series against New Jersey.
Yeah.
This has the feeling of a 2014 Kings team. I like Florida going to the Stanley Cup. And I haven't talked like this since, Barkov and Huberdeau.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
I'm not jinxing nothing. All right, we're up 3-0 against Toronto. I can't imagine that. But what I'm saying is that when you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference and the way that the Panthers are moving, I mean, our lines have just been phenomenal. I mean, Barkov hasn't – I wish more Barkov goals, but Montour, Reinhardt, I mean, even Duclair.
Yeah.
The
Duke.
Yes, the Duke. I mean, I'm telling you right now, the moment that the Stanley Cup comes to South Florida, I think that's really going to be a huge piece, the same way that the Miami Heat got those back-to-back championships. It's going to turn more hockey later on. I really do love what I'm seeing for the Panthers. But I also do want to say, because the lottery draft was today for the NHL.
Yep.
Congratulations to the Blackhawks for getting the first overall pick away from Anaheim. Kind of surprised about that.
Can't stand the Blackhawks.
But, Chicago's in the slumps, but who knows? They got the Bernard deal, so good for them. Either way, the Panthers, away from the draft, I mean, they look solid. It's again, a really weird one because you have the Kraken who are, in their second year or whatever, beating out the Stanley Cup champions from last year in the first round. Yep. It's anyone's game. It's really anyone's game.
Listen to me. And we have to shout out Bobrovsky because that guy has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. Blocking almost everything. Yeah. Phenomenal.
I gave him a bunch of crap last year too. Honestly, I wanted either Drieger come out of nowhere to come back, or I wanted like Spencer Knight just to, pick himself up. But Bob, I mean, he's been looking like the Bob from Columbus, so I've been liking him so far.
Okay, listen to this. And this was a poll I ran on Instagram. We got a 71% definitive yes that they would go to Bird Road to celebrate a Florida Panthers Stanley Cup victory. So South Florida's with it. They want it. They win a Stanley Cup. They're going out to celebrate.
I like it. Hey, let me tell you, though, if there is, and again, I'm not jinxing anything, but if there is a parade, how would that even go? Will they start in South Beach and then end in, like, Sunrise, like, Broward?
Yo, it's a long parade.
They got to close the highway for that. They're going to close everything for that. It's going to be like a whole, it's like 6 hours, just slow drive on a shuttle. But, hey, I'll be there for it, too.
Jonka, give me some Panthers talk.
They were down 1. They came back. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to go to the Stanley Cup because I'm not going to jinx it, unlike somebody I know.
Oh, my gosh.
Not you, Brandon. Not you.
No. Nope.
I'm not going to name his name, but forget it. They need to close it out Game 4. I hope.
They do.
They close out game 4 at home. I think, right? They have the next game at home, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So they close it at home. They have some rest. Bring everybody nice and healthy. They have a nice, good rest. Wait until who we get next. I think it's going to be either Carolina or the Devils, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
either or.
Who would I want? I mean, technically, we have been the Hurricanes twice this year out of the 3, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But
they're a tough team.
They are a very tough team, especially for Florida.
We beat the Bruins.
We did.
We're about to beat Toronto. I don't want to hear anything about them being a good team because we just beat the 2 top teams in the. Hey, I'm gonna keep my mouth quiet. I'm gonna say take it a game at a time. Montour do his thing. Bobrovsky, take care of him, please. Every step he takes, give him a pillow. Give him whatever he needs to do to stay healthy. Cousins needs to do what he needs to do. Everybody needs to just calm down, take it a game at a time, and then once you do make it, if you make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, then that's when you notice, okay, we're here. Now we need to really focus up and get this shit done. But we'll talk about that if it happens.
Well, talking about it in the 3rd round.
Okay, yeah, let's just get to the 3rd round first.
I think the conference finals will be Panthers and Hurricanes, Golden Knights and Stars.
What I'm thinking again.
I don't know. I like the Kraken.
What for the West? The thing is, the West, like the inaugural season teams, like the expansion teams, like the Golden Knights had some phenomenal seasons already in their early career. I think the Kraken got the same thing. I got the Kraken, and I understand the Golden Knights, hard team to beat. Like McDavid's got to get to a Western Conference Finals, I think, at this point with the Oilers. I got the Oilers coming out with McDavid. That's what I think McDavid's too good not to make it to the 3rd round.
And Vegas is winning right now. I actually just flipped the previews of my remote because I was watching it.
2-1.
2-1 in the second period. Vegas is up over Edmonton.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting. With all the events that have been going on in South Florida, there was another event yesterday afternoon. The stars were out. It was Tom Cruise was there. Shakira was there. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb were there.
Beckham, Jordan, Tom Brady.
Yep. It's becoming a very popular event in Miami. It's only its 2nd year, and it is the Miami Grand Prix around Hard Rock Stadium. I don't know if you guys. I'm a big Formula One person, so I'll take the reins on this one. But man, I'm just a little frustrated because me being a Ferrari fan, Red Bull, it's been kind of a boring season because Red Bull is running away with the title once again, and single-handedly Max Verstappen, who started in 9th in this race and found himself all the way back in 1st and actually battled with his teammate Sergio Perez for the 1st place position, which there's some controversy there between radio communications between both teams. Between both drivers on the same team. But yeah, Max Verstappen started 9th, took 1st place. Ferrari wasn't really a factor. Charles Leclerc was all the way in 13th at one point, came all the way to 7th. Carlos Sainz was at 3rd at one point. He started 3rd on the grid, fell back to 5th. He also had a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It's ridiculous. Max Verstappen was kind of racing by himself. The guy had a 17-second lead between him and 2nd place. That's pretty much, just think of this. Max Verstappen goes by in front of you, right? You're watching the race. He passes right in front of you. Wait 17 seconds. You're just sitting there until the 2nd place car goes by. Like, you're racing by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that's just incredible. Like, Red Bull just has a good car, and if no one steps up, no team steps up, whether right now the competitive, at least to catch up, is either Ferrari, Aston Martin, or Mercedes. If none of those teams step up to do something or adjustment with their cars, like it's going to be a Red Bull sweep for the rest of the year. And their next race is actually in Rome, which is Ferrari's home track. Not this weekend, but the weekend after. But yeah, Miami Grand Prix, Max Verstappen winner, followed by Sergio Perez, Fernando Alonso in third with Aston Martin, George Russell in fourth with Mercedes, and Carlos Sainz in fifth with Ferrari. It was an interesting race because of the start. The grid was very different than what we expected, but the race itself, it was another Red Bull sweep. Nothing, different than what we've seen so far this season. But otherwise, great event for Miami. It's a second year, and people love going to it. A lot of people. Yesterday on Instagram, it was just literally Formula One Miami. Like everyone. And here's my thing: like, I'm not calling people out, but the thing about Miami that you have to understand is that when there's a new thing in town, everybody goes and tries it. There's so many people. Look, I've watched the Formula One show on Netflix. I watch every single race. There's people that's showing up to this race. They never don't know anything about Formula One, and then they're certainly they are immediately Formula One experts. And it's the same thing with everything else in Miami. When it's a hurricane season, everyone's in Miami's a damn meteorologist. But otherwise, it's great for the city, and it's great to have such an event like the Miami Grand Prix here in the city. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on to that, but
I would have one thing before I left, because I was in South Florida earlier today. I was listening to the Paul Castronovo show. I don't know if this is true or not. Somebody said on the show $400 for food, and I just want to guess, what do you think the food is?
burgers and fries.
A salad. At the Grand Prix, we're talking about $400 for some sort of whatever luxurious salad. Almost $300 to $200 for some nachos. And the cheapest ticket, I think, like the day of the races started, was like almost $900.
Formula One is very expensive. The hats are $90. I was seeing people the
hats are like $90.
Yeah.
Which because of what McLaren's on it?
Yeah.
It's crazy out there. I mean, that was the one thing I would say. Again, I don't know. They had a really great crowd over there from the Grand Prix, but they got to lower the prices next time, because there's no way. I was there Friday because, somebody had a ticket for me that day, but I can barely even afford a $24 sandwich. So I don't know who's buying those $200 nachos.
Well, here's the problem. Because it's Miami, and obviously Miami is a world-class city where people from all over like to come here. You would think, oh, wow, it's so filled. But the majority of it is not filled from people from Miami. It's people from all over the world that say, hey, Miami, I love Miami, and I like Formula One, and just bought tickets to come to Miami to watch the race.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and again, a great crowd to have out there for the Grand Prix this season. But, man, they got to lower the prices. I'm sorry. I don't know how it is in the San Antonio track, but they got to lower the prices.
I'm sure it's the same thing, and I'm heading out actually in November. I'm going to the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which I'm very excited for. I personally think, in my opinion, it's going to be better than the Miami one, because the Miami one, yes, it's around Hard Rock Stadium, but like the Las Vegas one, they're shutting down the entire strip of Las Vegas, and they're going to be racing down the strip of Las Vegas and at night. So you're going to get all the lights and stuff like that. It's going to be really cool. But yeah, it's the sport in general. It's a very, very, very expensive sport. And it's European. Just the brands involved. You're talking about Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin, all luxury brand cars. It's an expensive sport. We'll leave it at that. There's nothing else to say about that, but it's great for the city. It brings in money, and we're happy the event is here. But with that, that's all the time we have for our show today. And we do want to say that the Miami Heat are 10 seconds away from making us a 3-1 lead heading back to New York on Wednesday. I think this one's about done. I think the Heat are going to take this serious. But from all of us here at Plug Talk Sports, we hope you enjoyed this show. Keep in tune to all of our social media throughout the week. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Monday for a brand new episode.
Support the troops.